Imagine this. One of the most powerful men in history, the Emperor of Rome, sitting alone at night, not plotting wars, not celebrating victories, but quietly writing down thoughts to himself. Words he never intended anyone else to read. Private notes, whispered reminders, raw reflections. Now here's the crazy part. Those writings survived. And 2,000 years later, they still speak directly to us. Think about that. A Roman emperor battling the weight of the world, struggling with anger, fear, duty, and meaning. And yet his answers feel like they were written for you right now. This isn't just some dusty philosophy. It's a survival guide. It's the playbook Marcus Aurelius used to rule himself before he ruled an empire. And once you hear it, you'll never look at your own thoughts, your struggles, or even your day-to-day life the same way again. So stick with this, because what you're about to hear isn't just an audiobook, it's a conversation across time. And if you stay until the end, you'll walk away with insights that could change the way you live forever. Chapter 1. The Inner Citadel, Anchoring the Self. He sits in a small room lit by a single guttering lamp. The marble halls of Rome a world away. Outside, soldiers march, messengers shout, an empire presses in on him from every side. Inside, there is a scrap of paper and a man talking to himself like anyone else trying to hold steady through the storm. That scrap is the beginning of the inner citadel. This chapter is about building that citadel, a place inside that nothing outside can knock down. Marcus Aurelius lived with the most extreme versions of life's pressures: war, plague, betrayal, the heavy crown of leadership. And he chose the quiet work of strengthening his own mind before he tried to steer the world. The trick he practiced was not mysticism or showy discipline. It was a practical, repeatable architecture for the self. It is simple enough to learn and stubbornly hard to forget once learned. Picture him on a long campaign. The tent flaps whisper. A courier arrives with bad news. The first impulse is a flaring of heat, a quick judgment, a command shouted that might be regretted. But Marcus pauses. Inside his head, there is a sealed room he's built over decades, stone steps of attention, a threshold of judgment, a lamp of perspective. He closes the outer door, so his action comes from a place of clarity rather than impulse. The first wall of that citadel is attention. He trained himself to watch his impressions, the tiny, slippery thoughts that arrive like uninvited guests, and decide which are worth hosting. Instead of immediately acting on anger or fear, he watched the feeling as it came through the doorway, labeled it, and let it pass when it had no reason to stay. This is not suppression, it is triage. Train the eye to see the thought before the thought hurls you into the wrong move. The second wall is the clear boundary between what belongs to you and what does not. Marcus set a firm rule. The only things truly under his care were his judgments, his desires, and his actions. Everything else, wealth, reputation, other people's moods, the weather, the slow cruelty of fate, sat beyond the gate. When loss arrived, the fortress remembered that its valuables are the inner ones. This gave him a strange kind of freedom. He could be stern where the world demanded sternness, and undisturbed where the world attempted to shake him. The third wall is practice. A fortress is nothing without repetition of routine. Marcus wrote nightly, short notes, reminders, corrections. That small, nightly ritual is the mortar between the stones. It was not grand prose, but a steady cleaning of the interior room. What went wrong? What must be corrected? What was worth holding to? The page became the anvil where intention is hammered into habit. Now bring this into the modern day. The citadel is not a philosophical thought experiment. It is a toolkit the size of a pocket. The tools are simple and ready. First tool, a single anchoring sentence to keep on your tongue when the storm starts. Say it without drama, slowly, like setting a weight down. I have power over my mind, not outside events. Repeat it until the reflex to explode quiets down and you can choose a better response. Second tool, a nightly ledger. Spend 3 minutes writing what you reacted to, where you gave your power away, and one small correction for tomorrow. Marcus did this by candlelight. Today it fits into the pause before sleep. That tiny habit compounds faster than most realize. Third tool, rehearsal of loss. It sounds grim until it's recognized as armor. Think through, for a moment in a calm room, what it would feel like to lose what you hold dear. This is not bleakness, it is inoculation. If a feared loss arrives, The shock is softer and the action more effective. Story-wise, the citadel shows up in small moments, not just in grand ones. There is the moment a subordinate insults the emperor's plan. The natural response is to retaliate. Marcus, trained to the citadel, responds with a question in his head. Does this require action or only attention? He chooses the smaller response, a correction rather than a storm. That choice costs nothing and preserves everything. The citadel also demands compassion. It is not a fortress of cruelty, but a house with room for mistakes. First yours, then others. Marcus' practice made him less quick to break people with punishment and more eager to repair them with reason. Strength without care is brittle. Strength applied wisely heals. This chapter closes with a short, practical sequence to start building your own inner citadel tonight. Do it plainly and without fanfare. Breathe until the shoulders soften. Name the feeling that rides the surface. Write one sentence about how that feeling influenced your day. Say your anchor line once before sleep. That tiny ritual will be the first stone in a structure that, in time, sits solid beneath everything you do. Remember, the citadel is not built in a day. It is a slow, stubborn architecture assembled one honest choice at a time. Marcus' notes were not speeches meant for emperors. They were reminders for a man trying to wake each morning and be better than the day before. The power was not in what he conquered outside. It was in what he learned to master inside. If this chapter fortified a part of you, do something small and kind to help the channel. Press like, subscribe, and drop a single word in the comments that describes how you feel after listening. One word keeps it simple, and I read every single one. Stay with me for Chapter 2, where we begin building the first wall in full attention so your citadel can hold when the next storm comes. Chapter 2, Perception, Seeing Things as They Are. You get a text, "We need to talk." Before you even read the rest, your chest tightens, your head writes the worst ending, and suddenly you're halfway to rage or shame. A full-blown episode that started as 3 words in your imagination. That's perception doing its job, inventing stories, stitching facts into narratives that feel true faster than you can breathe. Marcus noticed this same trait in himself. He didn't just offer rules about behavior. He trained how a person sees what happens to them. His meditations are, in fact, a record of a man practicing that training. Private notes he wrote to steady his own mind while the world tried to pull him apart. They weren't public speeches. They were exercises meant to change how he perceived things before he acted. Here's the Stoic core you need to learn. Impressions arrive. The Stoics called these first hits to the mind phantasiae. You don't have to accept them. You can assent to them, reject them, or hold back and check them. That pause, withholding automatic agreement with the impression, is where freedom lives. It's the move between stimulus and reaction where a life changes. Marcus put it in plain terms. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. That line is not a neat slogan. It's a practice. When you say it and mean it, you stop mistaking the headline for the event. Let me show you how this plays out in a real, modern cutscene. You're in a meeting. Someone cuts you off. Your first impression, they don't respect you. Your second, you're angry and you want to humiliate them back. Most people act on that second one. Marcus would train you to take the 3-second step nobody wants to wait for. Breathe. Label the feeling annoyance. Ask a quick question. Is my interpretation certain? Is this under my control? Then move. That tiny gap kills 1,000 destructive reactions. Epictetus and the Stoics made this exact habit central to their practice. Recognize an impression, don't instantly assent to it. Test it, then choose. Why does this matter beyond the self-help page? Because perception is the engine that turns small events into massive consequences. The way you interpret a loss, a criticism, a late message determines whether your day is ruined or redirected. Stoic practice rewires the engine. It doesn't promise you won't feel. It promises you won't be driven blind by the feeling. That's also why modern therapists trace a line from the Stoics to cognitive approaches used today. The idea of examining and disputing our immediate thoughts is ancient, practical, and clinically useful. Okay, hands dirty. 3 practical drills you can use in the next hour. Do them exactly. 1. The pause and label. 30 seconds when something lands and your body spikes. Stop. Inhale. Say the feeling out loud or in your head. anger, fear, hurt. Naming softens the power of the story. It's not avoidance. It's the Stoic discipline of noticing the impression before you assent. 2. The evidence check. 60 to 90 seconds. Ask 3 quick questions. A. What exactly happened, fact for fact? B. What am I interpreting that could be another explanation? C. Is this in my control? If it's not, don't spend your life energy arguing with it. If it is, plan a calm, focused next move. 3. The micro-journaling reset. 3 minutes. Tonight before bed. Write a single impression that moved you during the day, name the emotion, and rewrite the scene with one different assumption. Not, they hate me, but they were distracted. Marcus used short nightly notes to correct impressions and reset his habits. You can do the same and notice how quickly your reflexes change. A small example brings this home. Imagine you overhear a passerby laugh just after you speak. Instant story, they're mocking you. Pause, label embarrassment. Check evidence. Were they looking at you? Maybe not. Is their intention within your control? No. Your choice now is either to storm off, feeling ruined, or to shrug, keep walking, and save your energy for what matters. The difference in outcome is not because the world changed. It's because your perception did. 2 final, sharp truths Marcus would press into you. First, sight and hearing are not the whole story. They're raw materials for judgment. Second, you get to be the judge. That judgment, what the Stoics call assent, is your most human power. Use it. Tonight's takeaway assignment. Next time something spikes you, try the pause and label once, then do the evidence check. That's it. One disciplined pause a day builds a better life because perception is the lens. The world is what the lens allows you to see. If this chapter landed for you, do one tiny thing to help the channel. Hit like, subscribe, and write one single word in the comments. The word you'll use to stop automatic reactions, mine's pause. I read every comment. Try the drill and tell me the first time it saved you from saying something you'd regret. Stay with me. Chapter 3 will teach the next wall of the citadel, how to clearly own what's yours and let the rest go. Chapter 3, what is within your power? You get a call at midnight. Your job is gone. The voice on the other end is calm, paperwork and logistics already in motion. For one wild second, your mind builds a future out of ruin. Mortgage, shame, a rushing panic that reads like doom. Then something smaller, quieter, tries to speak. What can you actually do right now? This is the question Marcus hammered into himself. What is up to me, and what is not? It sounds simple. It is not easy, but it is the single most useful map a human mind can carry into any storm. Because once you can separate what's yours to steer from what's the world's weather, you stop throwing your life at problems you can't solve and begin investing energy where it actually changes things. Here's the blunt Stoic truth. Your judgments, your desires, your aversions, your intentions, and your actions are yours. Your body, your reputation, the weather, other people's choices, historical tides, those are not. The difference is the difference between a life spent reacting and a life spent choosing. Picture Marcus on campaign. He couldn't command the supply lines to never fail. He couldn't turn back time for a fallen soldier. He couldn't stop a fever from sweeping the camp. What he could do, and what he trained over decades to do, was govern how he met those things, the interpretation he gave them, the steadiness of his next move, the correction offered when he himself erred. That was his authority. That was the inner command room where the emperor was truly an emperor. Now bring it home. When a friend betrays you, the instinct is to demand justice from them, to fix their behavior. The Stoic move is to ask first, is the harm inside my control? If not, is retaliation inside my control? Often the answer is no. But your response, anger, silence, forgiveness, leaving the relationship, that is yours. Channel your power there. 3 simple practices to make this distinction automatic. 1. The control sort, 60 seconds. Anytime when a problem arrives, make 2 lists in your head, up to me and not up to me. Be ruthless. Put emotions and reactions under up to me. Put outcomes and other people's will under not up to me. If an item is ambiguous, ask, can I change it with my choice or effort? If no, it goes into not. That tiny mental sort prevents the common waste of energy that keeps people exhausted. 2. There are traps. 1 is moralizing not up to me as an excuse to do nothing. The other is pretending everything is within your power, which breeds guilt and futile control. The Stoic skill is discrimination. Act hard where you can act. Accept calmly where you cannot. Over time, this reduces needless suffering and increases real impact. 2 micro tools you can start using in the next hour. The one thing rule. When overwhelmed, ask, what's the one action I can take right now that moves this forward? Do that. Repeat. Progress compounds. The let it go sentence. For things outside your control, have a short line ready. I won't spend my capacity on what I cannot change. Say it, breathe, and then do something small you can control. Reply to an email, make a plan, call a friend. Practice this and you'll notice something strange and useful. Your life will feel lighter not because things changed, but because your relationship to them did. That is the Stoic gain. You don't deaden your feelings. You redirect them into realms where they matter. Tonight's tiny assignment. Pick one worry that's been stealing time from you. Do the control sort. If it's up to you, write the single next step you'll take tomorrow and set an alarm to do it. If it's not, say the let it go sentence 5 times and then do something restorative, a walk, a glass of water, a short note to someone you love. If this chapter cracks something open for you, press like, subscribe, and drop one single word in the comments. The word you choose to own this week. Mine would be decide. I read every comment, and I'll pick a few to highlight in the next episode. Stick around. Chapter 4 will take this idea further and teach you how to love the life you have, even when it doesn't look like the one you expected. Chapter 4, a more fatty, embracing fate without fear. There's a moment in every life when the map you trusted dissolves beneath your feet. The promotion evaporates. The relationship ends. The plan you nailed for months collapses into a single word, canceled. In that crack between what you expected and what actually happens, you either break, or you learn to do something stranger and more powerful. You learn to love it. A more fatty, love of fate, is not a poetic shrug. It's a practiced stance. It's waking up and saying, without sarcasm, yes, this is what I've been given. I will make the most of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders not to avoid fate, but to greet it as a teacher. He didn't pretend the blows didn't hurt. He trained himself to use the blows. That is the muscle we work on in this chapter. Imagine a ship caught in a sudden storm. The captain who curses the storm is busy losing energy to anger. The captain who studies the wind and asks, what can I do with this? Uses the same storm to reach an unexpected shore. A more fatty teaches you to be that second captain. It flips the script from victimhood to craftsmanship. The world hands you raw materials, and your work is to shape them. This doesn't mean you become passive or sentimental about pain. Far from it. Loving fate is an active discipline that turns obstacles into steps forward. One of Marcus' clean, brutal lines nails it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That is not resignation. That is tactical love. You accept the fact of the obstacle and then use it as the instrument of your growth. Here's how it looks in the small, sharp moments. You get a message, a project you poured yourself into is rejected. Your reflex is to collapse into self-blame or to lash out. A more fatty asks you to pause and reframe. What can this rejection teach me? Does it expose a blind spot I can fix? Does it redirect me toward a better path I wasn't seeing? You don't pretend the rejection is pleasant. You love its usefulness. That tiny reorientation turns wasted fury into forward movement. 3 practical drills to build this muscle. 1. The what's useful. Reframe 90 seconds. When something bad lands, stop and ask 2 blunt questions. A. What about this is useful? B. What will this allow me to do that I couldn't do before? Force yourself to name one useful thing. Even if it's only, I'll know this approach doesn't work. Say that usefulness aloud. Reframing doesn't erase grief, but it gives your next step an honest direction. 2. The deliberate obstacle, daily, 5 minutes. Choose one small, controllable inconvenience today, a longer route to work, a cold shower, leaving your phone silent for an hour. Treat it as training ground for fate. Notice your resistance. End the exercise by saying, good. This made me stronger for actual problems. Small intentional discomfort builds the habit of embracing what comes. 3. Love the lost letter, 10 minutes, tonight. Write a short letter to something you fear losing or have already lost. Name it. Then write 3 ways its loss could be a strange gift. What freedom, what clarity, what new focus might arrive. Don't lie to yourself. Get specific. Fold the letter, keep it, or burn it. The point is to practice seeing that even endings contain directions. A short story. A small business owner loses a key client overnight. The first week is chaos. But because she's practiced reframing, she sits down and asks, what doors does this close, and what doors might it open? She finds time to build a product she'd been postponing, reaches a different audience, and 6 months later, not because the loss was good, but because she loved the lesson it forced, she pivots into a stronger, clearer business. Amor Fati didn't make the loss easy. It made the response effective. You'll meet resistance. Loving fate can feel like forcing optimism on pain. So be clear, Amor Fati is not speeding your grief along or pretending suffering isn't real. It's training your heart and mind so suffering doesn't steal your life. It's saying, I will sit with this pain, learn from it, and let it shape me without letting it ruin me. That is not callousness. That is a fierce kindness toward your future self. Quick guardrails to avoid the trap. Don't use Amor Fati as an excuse to accept injustice or avoid necessary action. Loving fate means working with what is given while still changing what you can change. It's both acceptance and effort, not one or the other. Tonight's tiny practice. Pick one small problem that's been looping in your head. Use the what's useful. Reframe and write down one concrete action you'll take tomorrow that uses what happened, not to deny the hurt, but to redirect it. That single action is the beginning of turning fate into fuel. If this chapter landed, do something small and kind to help the channel grow. Hit like, subscribe, and in the comments type a single word, the thing you'll practice loving today, mine's detour. I read every comment, and I'll highlight a few of your words in the next episode. Stick with me. Chapter 5 will take a harder turn. We'll confront mortality itself and discover how living with the end in view sharpens everything that still remains. Chapter 5, Memento Mori, living by the shortness of time. There's a small, dangerous magic in the sentence. You could leave life right now. Say it quietly to yourself and listen. It cuts through clutter like a blade. Marcus didn't write his meditations to impress crowds. He wrote them to remind a tired man sitting on campaign, running an empire, and watching friends die. That time is not a limitless resource to be squandered. Those private notes are built around tiny shocks of clarity like this one. Picture a scene, a candle guttering in a tent while the camp sleeps. Outside, the world bristles with danger and duty. Inside, a man writes, not about the conquest or the honors, but about why today must be lived rightly because it might be his last. That practice, pulling mortality to the front of attention, isn't morbid. It's tactical. It makes trivial things look the size they are and gives urgent things the space they deserve. Marcus used mortality as a lens to sharpen life. Why does this work? When the mind believes it has forever, it procrastinates courage, defers kindness, stacks what matters behind what feels easier. Memento Mori flips the script. It makes the future's uncertainty a present engine. It's not fear dressed up as virtue. It's motivation with a deadline. And the weird, useful result. You become less tolerant of nonsense and more generous with what really matters. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. A man delays calling his estranged father because there'll be time. Months pass. When the call finally happens, it's shorter, clumsier, but real. Another wakes to the idea that if today were the last day, what would they say? The message they'd send is often the one their heart already wanted to send months ago. The thought of death doesn't make people grim. It removes the polite fences we put up and asks us to act on the important things now. Practical, brutal drills. Do them exactly and don't be cute. 1. The 2-minute cliff every morning. Stand for 2 minutes and imagine today is your last full day. What would you not postpone? Which 2 actions would you do before sleep? Don't grandstand. Name the real small things. Call 1 person, send 1 message, do 1 repair to your schedule. This short shock trains priorities repeatedly, like a muscle. Do it now, even if only for 2 silent breaths. 2. The funeral exercise, weekly, 10 minutes. Write your own eulogy, not for vanity, for clarity. What do you want someone to say about the life you're actually living? Put the noisy things aside and be honest. Then, choose 1 line from that eulogy and schedule 1 concrete step this week that moves you toward it. Marcus used this kind of sharp reflection not to worship death, but to use it as a compass. 3. The last thing list. Nightly, 60 seconds. Before bed, list the single most useful thing you did that day and the single thing you delayed that you'll do first thing tomorrow. This habit builds a chain of small ends met and reduces the regret that accumulates when time slips by. A real example: a creative who keeps telling themselves they'll start tomorrow learns the 2-minute cliff. In one morning's drill, they realize starting means opening the file and writing a paragraph. That tiny first step, taken under the pressure of finitude, becomes the hinge that resets a procrastination spiral. It isn't mystical, it's behavioral. Mortality forces the first move. There are 3 traps to watch for. First, don't weaponize mortality as an excuse for reckless choices. Remember, memento mori is a lens for better decisions, not a dare to throw caution away. Second, don't use it to escape grief or to avoid planning. Use it to plan better. Third, don't make it performative, like checking off some spiritual box. The power is in the private practice, the small repeated reminders that change how you spend time. A short, quick one insight Marcus would push. The measure of a life is not its length, but how intentionally you use the length you have. When you hold death in one hand and your day in the other, you begin to spend your hours like currency. You stop investing them in things that pay no return. Tonight's micro assignment: pick the single person you've been meaning to call or the single project you've been delaying. Do the 2-minute cliff. Then act. Make the call or open the project for 15 minutes. That push is the smallest hospitality you can offer your future self. If this chapter hit a nerve, help the channel with one tiny favor. Like, subscribe, and in the comments write one sentence. The one thing you'd do today if today were the last. I read every comment, and I'll pick a few to highlight and react to in the next chapter. Stay with me. Chapter 6 will shift outward. How duty and leadership emerge when you run your life against the clock. Chapter 6. Duty and leadership, ruling with virtue. A runner collapses into the tent. The courier's breath is ragged. The news is worse than expected. Voices outside clamor for blame, for immediate action that will look decisive. In the middle of the chaos sits a man who has practiced steadiness long enough that his first move is not to strike or shout. It's to listen. That pause is the secret. Leadership, Marcus knew, begins inside. Duty isn't a title. It isn't a badge you wear when cameras are rolling. Duty is the quiet contract you make with reality. To show up, to do your work well, and to take responsibility for what you can influence. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire in a time that would have broken most people. His real skill wasn't only strategy or lineage. It was doing the small, morally clear things every day that made him trustworthy. He governed himself first so he could govern others honestly. Think of leadership as craftsmanship. A good leader shapes circumstance the same way a skilled artisan shapes raw material. With attention, with respect, and with a steady hand. The Stoic leader treats authority as stewardship. Power's natural temptation is to indulge ego. The Stoic's antidote is to treat power as a trust to be used for the common good. That shift, from owner to steward, changes every decision. Here's the practical heart of it. The person who rules with virtue understands 3 truths. First, your rank doesn't increase your moral obligations. It multiplies them. Second, you lead best by example. Your private acts shape public culture more than your public speeches. Third, courage without wisdom is reckless. Wisdom without courage is impotent. Leadership sits where both meet. A short story to make this concrete. Imagine a mid-level manager who discovers a teammate's project failed because she cut corners under pressure. The manager could hide the mistake to protect metrics or loudly punish and intimidate. Instead, she chooses to hold a calm meeting, owns the oversight for not catching it, outlines a plan to fix it, and asks the team what support they need to prevent a repeat. That one choice, owning responsibility and focusing on repair, shifts the team from fear to trust. It's leadership, not posturing. 3 precise practices you can start today. 1. The morning steward brief, 5 minutes. Before you check email, sit quietly and ask 3 questions. Who am I here to serve today? What is the one outcome I must protect? Which virtue will I practice when challenged? Keep it concrete. Names, tasks, and one virtue: clarity, patience, courage. Marcus kept short, daily reminders to recenter his duties. This is the modern equivalent. It turns leadership into a recurring habit, not a crisis mode. 2. Speak last. Decide first meeting rule. In any group, force yourself to speak last when gathering input, not because you're timid, but to show that you value information over ego. Then, immediately after listening, decide clearly and assign roles. Speaking last trains humility. Deciding fast trains authority. Together they build trust. People feel heard, then guided. 3. The public repair habit, immediate. When you mess up, and you will, name it openly, describe how you'll fix it, and what you'll do to prevent it in future. Do this quickly and without theatrical drama. Leaders who hide mistakes create paranoia. Leaders who repair openly create safety. Accountability is the glue of durable authority. There are traps. Pride masquerades as confidence and destroys teams. Micromanagement claims to be care, but it suffocates initiative. And paralyzing caution wears the same face as prudence. Don't confuse them. Marcus warns, in essence, act rightly, not theatrically. Let your actions be quiet and consistent. Let your standards be high and your corrections quick. A short drill to test your leadership tone. Tomorrow, give a short, 2-line instruction to someone on your team and follow it with an offer of help. Do X by noon. If you hit a snag, tell me and we'll solve it together. Watch how people respond. You'll see the difference between commands that create compliance and commands that inspire ownership. Final practical lens. Measure leadership by what it produces, not what it proclaims. Are people safer? More creative? More willing to bring problems forward? Those are the real KPIs of virtue at work. Tonight's micro assignment. Pick one situation this week where you can practice public repair or speak last listening. Do it deliberately. Afterward, write one sentence about what changed in the team's mood or the outcome. Small repeated acts reshape culture faster than any grand speech. If this chapter sharpens something inside you, do one sweet thing to help the channel grow. Like, subscribe, and drop a single word in the comments. The virtue you'll practice this week, mine's steady. I read every comment, and I'll highlight a few in the next episode. Stay close. Chapter 7 will go deeper into taming passions so your leadership can be built on calm, not on reaction. Chapter 7, Passions Tamed, from turmoil to calm. You're driving. Someone cuts you off. Your chest tightens. A clean sentence forms in your head. I'm going to teach them a lesson. Your hands clench. Your face heats. In the next 5 seconds, you will either become the story you hate, furious, loud, regretful, or you will do something quieter and far more powerful. Stop. That split second is the battleground. Marcus called the fires inside us passions, not as a compliment, but as a diagnosis. They are impressions turned into judgments before reason shows up, and left unchecked they make us smaller, meaner, and slower. The Stoics didn't promise to wipe emotion from your life. They promised you could learn to tame it so emotion serves you rather than spits in your face. Picture Marcus in camp, tired, plagued, surrounded by men who test him every day. A courier delivers news that could have unstitched him. Betrayal, a failed plan, an insult delivered in armor. He could have exploded. Instead, we find a man practicing a simple move. Notice, name, choose. That tiny sequence saved whole decisions from becoming disasters. This chapter teaches you that move and how to make it automatic. Here's the heart of it. Passion is not fate. It's a fast judgment that mistakes external slights for internal truth. You don't have to be dominated by that judgment. You can step in between the strike and the reaction and rewrite the script. 3 cinematic, repeatable drills you can use in the wild. Do them, and your instincts change. 1. The 10-second anchor. When the heat hits, do this exactly. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold 1. Breathe out for 6. In that breathe, say one word. Pause. Put your hand on your chest or press your thumb and finger together. Name the feeling out loud. Anger, shame, panic. Naming separates you from it. It reduces the charge. Then ask one clarifying question. Is action required now or only attention? Most of the time, it's only attention. That 10 seconds turns volcanic eruptions into manageable repairs. 2. The redirect reframe. Use within the hour. Take the energy the passion gives you and channel it into a micro-action that helps. If you're furious at a colleague, Write a 2-sentence note that states facts and asks for clarity, no blame. If you're humiliated by a comment, spend 5 minutes drafting something useful you can post later. A better idea, not a better insult. Passion is raw power. The Stoic skill is to redirect it into solving, not hurting. Transform heat into motion. 3. The passion audit. Daily, 3 minutes. End your day with 1 sentence. Today I was carried by X emotion when Y happened. Name the emotion, the trigger, and 1 different next move you could try. Marcus wrote short nightly notes for this exact reason. Small corrections compound. Do this for a week and watch how automatic your new options become. A short, sharp story. A young teacher is publicly shamed by a parent. Her instinct is to defend and to cut the parent down. Instead, she tries the 10-second anchor. She breathes, names rage, sends a message the next day that says, "I hear your concern. Let's talk specifics." The parent meets her. They solve the issue. The teacher kept her integrity and avoided a fight she would have later regretted. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Now, 3 guardrails so you don't blow the work. Taming passions is not suppressing them. Feel them fully, then choose their end. Stoics aren't robots, they're skilled navigators. Don't confuse calm for passivity. Calm chosen with purpose is stronger than loud emotion with no direction. Practice makes the pause possible. You won't heroically be patient the first time. You'll be better by the 17th. 2 quick micro tools that deepen this skill. The conversion query. Ask, how can this feeling be useful? Anger can become fuel for repair. Envy can become a map to what you value. Shame can be a teacher, not a jailer. The voluntary friction. Once a week, do something mildly uncomfortable by choice. A cold shower, a hard run, a brief social discomfort. Those small, controlled hardships shrink the tyrant of sudden passions because they remind you you can survive intensity. Finish with this truth Marcus wrote again and again in different words. Emotion is the material. Your judgment is the architect. Build deliberately. Tonight's assignment. Pick 1 recurring trigger in your life. Something small but reliable. Use the 10-second anchor the next time it happens. Afterward, write 1 line in your phone about what you did and how it changed the outcome. 1 saved regret builds courage faster than 1,000 lectures. If this chapter landed, do 1 sweet thing to help the channel. Like, subscribe, and drop 1 single word in the comments. The word that will be your anchor this week. Mine's pause. I read every comment, and I'll highlight a few in the next episode. Stick around. Chapter 8 will take us outward. How Stoicism makes better neighbors, friends, and communities when practiced honestly. Chapter 8. We are made for each other, community and compassion. There's a sound that shifts a room faster than a command. A child crying, a voice asking for help, a neighbor's knock late at night. It can turn a casual day into an ethical test. What do you do in that instant? Look away, judge quickly, or step in? Marcus spent a surprising amount of his private pages reminding himself of 1 blunt fact. We were built to be together. That line, simple, almost blunt, changes the way you measure success. The Stoics didn't write manifestos about kumbaya. They recorded the daily work of being decent in a messy, violent world. Marcus saw people not as obstacles to your comfort, but as parts of a whole. Harm to 1 part ripples to the rest. Compassion, for him, was practical. It preserved the functioning of a community, it reduced needless strife, and it made leadership sustainable. He practiced small acts consistently, because small acts are how trust is built. Picture a scene. In the middle of a campaign, a soldier comes into the tent, ashamed. His family needs grain and the pay truck won't arrive. An emperor who rules by spectacle might announce punishment for failure. An emperor practicing sympathy asks quietly what can be done now, who's safe, and how to help. The decision isn't sentimental. It's tactical. A fed, trusted soldier does better work than one who's hungry and humiliated. Compassion is not softness. It's effective management of human material. This chapter is about sharpening that muscle without turning you into a doormat. Here's how to practice compassion that actually helps you and others. 3 practical drills. Do them exactly and watch the small changes compound. The 7-minute gesture. Give 7 minutes to someone today, no more, no less. That might be helping a neighbor carry groceries, listening to a coworker's short complaint without jumping in, or sending a message to someone who needs encouragement. Keep the action bounded and concrete. The goal isn't to rescue everyone. It's to make compassion a repeated habit. Repetition beats intensity. The two-question listen. In a conversation where someone is upset, ask only 2 questions before saying anything about yourself. What happened? And how do you want this handled? Then shut up and listen. Most people want to be understood before they want solutions. This simple restraint turns defensive interactions into repair opportunities. The context practice, daily, 60 seconds. When someone annoys you, pause and invent 3 reasonable stories that explain their behavior. Not excuses, stories that put context around their action. Maybe they're tired, stressed, misinformed. That quick exercise doesn't excuse poor behavior. It makes your response smarter and less reactive. Now, a little realism. There are traps compassion can fall into. Compassion is not complicity. Helping someone doesn't mean you must accept abuse. A compassionate boundary says, I will help, but I won't allow harm. Learn to say both things plainly. Compassion is not endless emotional labor. You can offer presence without giving every ounce of your energy. Protect your reserves. Compassion without accountability is useless. Helping someone should rarely be only an emotional transfer. Pair it with structures that prevent repeat crises. A short, modern story to make this stick. A small cafe owner notices a barista showing up late and jittery. Most would fire them and move on. Instead, she asks once, "Is everything okay?" The barista admits to a housing crisis. The owner offers a week of adjusted hours and a modest loan. The immediate costs are real. The result? Loyalty, doubled effort, and a community of customers who came back precisely because the place felt human. That investment in people paid back in ways spreadsheets don't measure. Why Stoic compassion works? It moves you from moral theater to moral infrastructure. Small consistent acts, listening, helping, repairing, reduce friction, and create a space where people can do their best work. That's not soft, it's strategic. 3 micro tools you can use in the next 24 hours. This small ask card. Keep a note in your phone labeled small ask. When you think of someone who could use help, text a 1-line offer. I have 30 minutes Friday. Want help with X? Small, specific, low-effort offers are taken more often than grand declarations. The repair template. If you mess up with someone, use this line. I'm sorry for X. Here's how I'll fix it. Why? Will that work? Crisp, honest, solution-oriented apologies rebuild trust faster than long defenses. The boundary phrase. Practice saying, I care and I cannot do that. Practice makes this sentence possible without guilt. Tonight's assignment. Pick one person, someone nearby, or someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Take 7 minutes. Use the 2-question listen. Do not give advice unless asked. Just listen and note one practical next step you could take to help: a call, an email, dropping off something useful. That single 7-minute investment may look small now, but in 2 weeks, you'll find that the shape of your relationships changed. One final Stoic twist. Compassion is not just for the warm-hearted. It's a tool for strength. When you treat other people as parts of a whole, you build networks of reciprocity that protect you in storms you can't predict. Marcus's practice of kindness was a strategy as much as a morality. If this chapter landed, help the channel grow in one tiny, powerful way. Hit like, subscribe, and drop one single word in the comments. The one you'll use this week to practice community, minds listen. I read every comment, and I'll highlight a handful in the next chapter. Stay with me. Chapter 9 will turn trials into teachers and show how pain, handled well, becomes your curriculum for resilience. Chapter 9, Trials as Teachers, Endurance and Resilience. The floor drops out beneath you. One phone call, one diagnosis, one sudden firing. Whatever the shape, the world hands you a hard, unwanted lesson and leaves you to figure out what to do next. In that first stunned minute, the 2 most common choices appear: curl up and pretend it didn't happen, or use the shock as your teacher. The Stoics picked the latter. So will we. Marcus sat in tents while battle plans burned in the firelight and watched whole legions rattle with sickness and fear. He lost friends, watched his people suffer, and still wrote short, sharp rules to pull him through. He didn't romanticize pain. He treated it like raw material. The question he trained himself to ask wasn't why me, but what can this teach me? That single pivot, seeing trial as curriculum, turns disaster into apprenticeship. It's the mental tool that separates someone who is crushed by hardship from someone who's quietly forged by it. Picture a climber mid-ascent who slips and barely hangs on. Panic screams. But a climber who's trained for falls breathes, reevaluates anchor points, and learns something new about the rock. Same fall, different outcome. Trials are the falls. Resilience is the training that makes the fall useful. 3 cinematic, practical ways to turn your next trial into a teacher. 1. The trial inventory, 15 minutes, tonight. Open a blank page. At the top, write the situation in 1 sentence. The cold fact, no drama. Under it, list 3 concrete harms the trial caused and 3 concrete skills or insights it forced out of you, even if tiny. I responded calmly once. I learned a new spreadsheet trick. I noticed my limits with sleep. Finish by naming 1 action you can take tomorrow to use one of those new skills. The point is simple. Transform chaotic pain into organized data. Pain remembered as a pattern is a lesson learned, not a wound reopened. 2. The Resilience Micro-Project, 25 minutes. Pick the smallest useful fix you can do today that rebuilds control. Call HR. Draft the first paragraph of the project you lost. Set up a doctor's appointment, or send 1 clarifying message. Do it now. Resilience is not some distant trait. It's the accumulation of immediate, imperfect actions. Doing 1 small practical thing converts helplessness into momentum. 3. The Controlled Exposure Loop, weekly. Once a week, practice a small, controlled hardship. Run a hill, take a cold shower, give a difficult piece of feedback, or delay a comfort for an hour. Then debrief for 5 minutes. What did I learn about my tolerance? What did I discover I could stand? Controlled exposure is the gym where endurance is built. It shrinks the size of future shocks because you've already proven you can survive intensity. A short story to make it stick. A young designer loses a client and spends a day spiraling. Instead of staying in the hole, she does a trial inventory and realizes she's suddenly free of a scope that wasted most of her week. She spends 25 minutes that same afternoon drafting a new MVP that showcases the work she actually wants to do. Within a month, she lands a client aligned to that direction. The loss didn't become good. It was still loss, but she used it as the lever to change course. 2 guardrails so you don't fall into toxic things. Don't romanticize suffering. Noble-sounding language about discipline is a poor substitute for real recovery, honest grief, and practical repair. Respect the pain, then convert it. Don't make trauma your identity. Saying, "I suffered" is true. Saying, "I am suffering" indefinitely keeps the wound open. Use the lesson, then move. 3 micro tools to carry with you. The teacher map, 1-line format. What happened, what I learned, 1 next move. Keep it in your notes app. The gratitude reframe. Once this week, write 1 small thing the trial revealed that you can appreciate. Clarity, speed, a boundary finally revealed. The future anchor. Pick 1 sentence that rewires meaning when fear returns. Mine is, "This will teach me how to stand." Repeat it when old alarms ring. Tonight's assignment. Pick the hardest recent thing still buzzing in your head. Do the trial inventory. Then spend 25 minutes on the resilience micro-project tied to that inventory. That single combination, organize the lesson, take the smallest actionable step, begins to repurpose pain into progress. If this chapter landed and you want more episodes like this, do 1 sweet favor. Like, subscribe, and drop 1 single word in the comments. The word you'll use to name your trial-turned-teacher, mine's Forge. I read every comment, and I'll highlight a few of your words in the next chapter. Stay with me. Chapter 10 will bring everything together into a daily practice you can carry for life. Chapter 10, Daily Exercises, Practical Stoic Practices for Life. You've read the rules. You've seen the scenes. You know the line Marcus kept writing in the flicker of his lamp. Habit is the anvil of character. This final chapter is the studio where we turn those lines into something you can do every day. Not grand gestures, but small moves that, stacked, change how a life is lived. Think of this as a toolkit you can carry in your pocket. Not theory, not moralizing. Tools. Quick, repeatable, boringly small things that, over weeks, become the architecture of steadiness. The whole point is to make Stoicism less of an idea and more of a system you run through the day, so you don't have to invent patience, clarity, or courage in the middle of a crisis. Start with a simple promise. Do one tiny Stoic thing every morning and one every night. Everything else layers on top. The daily Stoic sequence, the 1-minute spine you can actually do. Morning, the first calm, 60 to 90 seconds. Wake, sit upright, breathe 4, 1, 6. Inhale 4, hold 1, exhale 6. Say one sentence out loud. I control my mind, not outside events. Spend 30 seconds imagining two things: the one person you'll serve today and the one obstacle that might show up. Name them. Say the single action you'll take if that obstacle appears. That's your morning compass. It sounds small because it is, but small compasses prevent huge wrecks. Midday, the 3-minute check-in. Somewhere between coffee and the afternoon slump, stop. Do a pause and label. Notice your dominant feeling. Name it. Then run the control sort in your head. What's up to me / what's not? If something is up to you, pick the one next small step. If it's not, run the more fatty reframe. What's useful here? And move on. This prevents reactive escalation and keeps your energy where it matters. Evening, the night ledger, 5 to 10 minutes. Write 3 lines. One thing you did well, one thing you'll correct, one small win to carry into tomorrow. Add a sentence of gratitude, and then close. Marcus wrote short notes for decades. This nightly ledger is the mortar between the day's stones. Do it before screens swallow you. 5 bite-sized practices you'll use. Every day, no drama. 1. Pause and label, 10 seconds. When alarm bells ring in your chest, breathe, name the feeling, then ask, action now or attention only? Most times, it's attention. This one skill cuts 1,000 regrets. 2. Control sort, 20 seconds. Whenever a problem lands, split your mental page into 2 columns. Up to me / not up to me. Be ruthless. Put feelings and choices in up to me. Put outcomes and others' choices in not up to me. Act only where action helps. 3. The 2-minute cliff, morning mini. Pretend today is a gift you could lose. What's one thing you would do? Do that first. It trains priority like a muscle. 4. The useful question, immediate. When stuck, ask, what's useful about this? It forces you from complaint to craft. 5. The micro repair, within 24 hours. When you mess up, name it, fix it, and schedule a step to prevent it next time. Short apology, short plan, not performance, repair. Weekly and monthly habits, don't skip these. Sunday, the week folder, 20 to 30 minutes. Review your night ledgers. Pick one recurring habit to refine. Schedule 3 micro actions for the week, and pick one virtue to practice: clarity, patience, courage, steadiness. Path dependency is real. When you schedule, you turn intention into structure. Monthly, the 1 virtue challenge. Choose 1 virtue for the month. Make small, repeatable tests. Speak last in meetings. Give 1 repair publicly. Choose deliberate friction once a week. At month's end, write 1 paragraph about how the virtue changed decisions you made. Concrete scripts you can use, copy them. Morning compass line. Today, I will serve X. If Y happens, I will do Z. Quick boundary phrase. I care, and I cannot do that. Short apology template. I'm sorry for X. I will fix it by Y. Will that work? How this looks in the messy moments. Boss rips your idea in public. Pause and label, annoyance. Control sort. Your reaction is up to you. Speak last to clarify facts. Then schedule a micro repair, short email that clarifies and moves work forward. Crisis avoided, dignity kept, work done. Partner skips a promise. 2-minute cliff at night. What matters? Repair. Use the repair template. Do the small fix tomorrow. Don't perform grief. Repair the trust. The 1-week kickstart. Try this. Day 1. Morning first calm plus night ledger. Day 2. Add pause and label to every spike today. Day 3. Control sort with your main worry. Do 1 corrective action. Day 4. Deliberate obstacle. Choose a small discomfort. Do it. Day 5. Practice the 2-question listen with someone close. Day 6. Write your brief eulogy paragraph. Yes now. Day 7. Sunday week folder. Pick 1 virtue for the next week. Guardrails, don't screw this up. Stoicism is not emotion death. Feel fully, then choose. Don't use acceptance as an excuse for injustice. Boundaries matter. Smallness is the point. Grand rituals fail because life is busy. These micro habits survive the day. A final story to bring it home. Marcus's notes aren't polished essays. They're short reminders scratched between battles and funerals. He didn't get better by reading philosophy. He got better by running tiny practices again and again until steadiness became reflex. That's your path too. Boring repetition until the emergency stops being an emergency. Tonight's micro assignment. Do the first calm now. Say your morning line. Name one person you'll serve today and choose one obstacle you won't let steal your focus. Then leave one word in the comments. The single word you'll carry into your practice this week. I read every comment. I'll highlight a few in the next episode and share how I use them in my own routine. If this whole series helped you, do one sweet thing to grow the community. Like, subscribe, and share this video with one person who needs a small set of rules to live by. Drop that single word below. Make it simple, honest, and yours. We'll build the citadel together, one tiny stone at a time. And so we arrive at the end of this journey. 10 rules, countless insights, and one unshakable truth. Life will always test us, but the way we train our minds determines whether we break or endure. Marcus Aurelius didn't leave us a manual for perfect living. He left us reminders, scratched on fragile pages, that greatness is built in the quiet daily choices no one sees. Now it's your turn. Don't let these lessons stay as words on a screen or a voice in your ear. Make them habits. Build your citadel of calm, one practice at a time. If this series gave you value, if it sharpened even one corner of your life, then join me in spreading it further. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Together, let's keep this wisdom alive, not in theory, but in practice. Be still, be strong, and I'll see you in the next chapter.